A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and
During World
destroyed
War
its
II,
usefulness
Germany
to
was
the enemy.
suspected to be developing a weapon
That
that
bomb
used
has
nuclear
more
power
power
as its
than
energy source.
20,000
The
tons
Manhattan
of
Project was the name of
TNT.
the combined effort by
The
the United
Japanese began
States,
the war
United
from the
Kingdom,
air
and
at Pearl
Canada to
Harbor.
create the deadliest weapon
They have
ever
been
conceived.
repaid
Nuclear
manyfold,
weapons possess enormous
and the
destructive
end is
power from
not yet.
nuclear fission, or the
With
splitting
this
of
bomb,
atoms.
we have
What was
now added
initially an
a
attempt to
new and
counter Nazi Germany,
revolutionary
the
increase
nuclear bomb would be used for the
in
first and only
destruction
time in
to
combat on
supplement the
Japan,
growing
on the
power
cities of
of our
Hiroshima
armed
and
forces.
Nagasaki. The month of
In their
August
present form,
1945
these
was
bombs are
arguably one
now
of the
in
darkest
production,
times in all of
and
warfare.
even more powerful forms are in development. A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor. They have been repaid manyfold, and the end is not yet. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces. In their present form, these bombs are now in production, and even more powerful forms are in development. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe. The force from which the sun draws its power has been loosed against those who brought war to the Far East. We have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history, and we have won. But the greatest marvel is not the size of the enterprise, its secrecy, or its cost, but the achievement of scientific brains in making it work.
New scientific discoveries in chemistry and physics in the 1930s led to the idea of harnessing the power of nuclear fission in warfare. Scientists found that there was a massive amount of energy stored in the bonds between protons of an atom, and new energy sources are considered a goldmine in any circumstance. On September 1st, 1939, World War II starts. Each side is looking for an upper hand in a long, drawn out, and extremely violent war. Soon, the United States picks up that Germany may be developing a bomb that uses nuclear power as its energy source. This type of weapon could swing the direction of the war dramatically, and the United States announces its own nuclear weapons program, the Manhattan Project. One of the head honchos of the Manhattan Project was Arthur H. Compton, 52-year-old winner of the 1927 Nobel Prize for experimental work on X-ray scattering. He was the director of the Manhattan Project's Chicago laboratory, codenamed the Met. Compton was the son of a philosophy professor and ordained minister, and early on in life displayed a strong interest in science. Briefly during World War II, he served as both chairman of the physics department and dean of physical science at the University of Chicago. Another physicist working on the project was Ernest O. Lawrence, who was considered an entrepreneur of physics. He created and headed the University of California Radiation Lab and was remarkably skillful at raising money, organizing big machine physics, and directing the energies of scientific teams. Lawrence won his Nobel Prize in 1939 for the development of the cyclotron, of course, obviously. Lawrence was able to handle a lot of the fundraising and financial aspects of the project as he comfortably courted industrialists, financiers, foundations, and university regents to support the big machine physics that he was promoting. Fun fact, he was the son of a South Dakota school superintendent and had a deeply suspicious attitude towards liberal politics. Now with a name like Enrico Fermi, you can tell this next scientist likes to party. I guess Nobel Prizes are a requirement to work on a nuclear bomb, since Fermi got one in 1938 for his research on artificial radioactivity produced by the neutron bombardment. He was considered a brilliant experimentalist and theoretician. Fermi admired order and discipline coming from an Italian railroad administrator. He usually avoided conflict and was reserved in political and personal matters. He modeled himself after what you could call an efficient, loyal civil servant. Due to rising political tensions from Mussolini's fascist regime, Fermi moved to the United States with his wife. Fermi attempted and struggled to lose his accent and applied for citizenship in 1944. J. Robert Oppenheimer was raised in New York City by his German Jewish family in ethical culture tradition. In the 1930s, he created America's first internationally respected school of theoretical physics. He had briefly supported left-wing political causes until shortly before joining the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer was recommended by fellow genius Compton and colleague Lawrence to work on the project, and even though he had no previous administrative experience, he was named director of the Los Alamos A-bomb laboratory in 1942. Sadly, early on it was realized that he did not meet the expectations set for him. Nonetheless, Oppenheimer was admired by many of the Los Alamos physicists. Oppenheimer inspired enthusiasm and loyalty. They marveled at his quickness and intellectual range. According to a Hans Bethe, he was the most intelligent of all of us at Los Alamos. Oppenheimer was considered to be charismatic, arrogant, and mercurial, and also seemed to enjoy being enigmatic. He was also most likely the most elusive psychologically of the four. For being so eloquent and charismatic, Oppenheimer was the de facto head of the panel and author of most of their joint statements. He was the youngest and most urbane of the four. Urbane means suave, courteous, or acts of a refined manner, by the way. I looked it up. By 1945, the wartime experience had given all four men a new sense of relevance and brought them in American science into a new relationship with the state. They had learned to accept secrecy and to work as efficient members of a large project. And they had become accustomed to the handsome wartime government funding for physics. The achievement of the Manhattan Project, as they understood, could dramatically confirm the value of physics to the nation and open new vistas to the physicists and their science. It provided physicists a way to make their profession and specialization in this science appear worthwhile to major businesses and corporations in the 20th century. During World War II, all four scientists devoted their energies and talents to the top-secret Manhattan Project in what they believed, into 1944, was a desperate race to develop the weapon before Germany. By late 1944, they knew that America would win this race, that Germany would not develop the A-bomb, and that Japan was the likely target for the bomb. When I awaken with a tingle. The Interim Committee was a governmental committee intended to regulate and keep control over the Manhattan Project and make all the final decisions. On May 31, 1945, during a meeting with the committee, Lawrence and Compton proposed a non-combat demonstration. However, this idea was quickly shut down. The committee claimed various reasons for denying a demonstration. For example, it could have been a dud and have the opposite of the intended effect. It might not appear impressive enough to be significantly more dangerous than the deadly firebombings already experienced by the Japanese. Or the Japs might move American prisoners of war into the test area. Despite Compton's suggestions and Lawrence's vigorous hopes, as well as the pleas of the Frank Report, which was a paper submitted by some of the scientists working on the project to try and prevent the use of the bomb, the four physicists on June 16th finally concluded in a statement drafted by Oppenheimer that the weapon should be dropped on Japan. As a spokesperson, Oppenheimer claimed to Washington that we recognize our obligation to our nation to use the weapons to help save American lives, and we can see no acceptable alternative to military use. We can propose no technical demonstration likely to bring an end to the war. Modern nuclear bombs, reactors, etc., all operate through the science of nuclear fission. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima had a long, thin shape and was therefore nicknamed the Little Boy. That's kind of weird. The source of energy was 2 pieces of uranium-235 below critical mass. Here's how it works. The 2 pieces of uranium were split apart and it was termed as a gun barrel-esque bomb. They used an explosive device to slam one portion of the uranium into the other, instantly creating a critical mass. Relating back to chemistry, critical mass is the minimum amount of fissile material, in this case uranium, needed to create a nuclear chain reaction. This chain reaction releases an amount of energy that is incomparable to the amount released by ordinary explosives. The Hiroshima bomb was equivalent in power to roughly 15,000 tons of TNT. Despite these shocking numbers, it's quite disturbing to realize that all this energy came from less than one of the 10 to 35 kilograms of uranium contained in the bomb. And so, on August 6, 1945, the first atomic bomb was dropped on the city of Hiroshima, Japan. Hours later, Oppenheimer got a call from General Leslie Groves, commanding general of the Manhattan Project, who was delighted by the weapon's success. When Groves said, "I'm proud of you and all your people," Oppenheimer replied, "Everybody at Los Alamos is feeling reasonably good about it." But the carnage was not over. The United States decided to drop their second nuclear bomb, the Fat Man, on Nagasaki 3 days after the first. This weapon was different from the first in that it had used plutonium-239 instead of uranium. Its design had also changed, having the material lined along the interior of the bomb, and it had gunpowder blast all the plutonium into the center of the bomb. It was considered an implosion-type bomb, and roughly 1 kilogram of plutonium released an energy equivalent to an estimated 21,000 tons of TNT. 140,000 people left dead from Hiroshima. Half of them died upon contact with the explosion, but the other half lived on for months, with radiation burns and poisoning. Nagasaki saw the death of another 70,000 people. Some argue that morality is subjective, but there's no doubt that this act of war caused an unheard of amount of damage to a civilian population in wartime. To compound this effect, the residual effects of the radiation has caused medical problems with the population of Japan to this day. The Japanese continue to die of atomic bomb-related diseases. Survivors suffer higher than normal rates of leukemia and cancers of the thyroid, breast, lung, stomach, and salivary glands. The Japanese government now estimates total nuclear fatalities in the two cities, including belated deaths that can be traced to the bombs, at between 300,000 and 350,000 people. Moreover, infants exposed to radiation in utero before the 18th week who were born mentally retarded are now 50-year-old retarded adults, many with elderly parents who agonize over what will become of their children after they die. The Manhattan Project evolved from a fear of the Germans, but became the weapon that ended the war for the Japanese. Some, such as physicist Lorentz, thought that such a display of violence would push humanity to be forced to accept peace in order to avoid total annihilation. That hasn't quite happened yet, but the Manhattan Project paved the way for the use of nuclear physics in many fields, not just as a tool for violence. We now use nuclear science to treat cancer, other medical illnesses, power our homes, offices, and streetlights. The use of the atomic bomb on the civilian population is a heavily debated topic, and it makes us look back at how the war between the Americans and Japanese proceeded as a whole. The Manhattan Project of World War II altered the course of history, ending the fight in the Pacific, molding the following years of the Cold War, and even, to this day, nuclear weapons play a critical role in country relations. Whether good or bad, the study of the atom has changed life on Earth forever.